Marr on News Talk 760 WJR.
It's time for Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit, the king of sportsbooks. Now here's the voice of the Detroit Lions, Dan Miller.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Lions Review. After week 15 in the National Football League, Lions lose to the Titans. Got a game with the Bucs coming up. Eventful day today in Allen Park. Special teams coordinator Braden Coombs fired by the team. Head coach Darrell Bevell, interim head coach Darrell Bevell had, I thought, a very honest press conference in addressing that and talking about it. And you're going to hear from him coming up in just a bit. You'll hear from Matthew Stafford as well. You will also hear from the one, the only Mike O'Hara, who joins us now from DetroitLions.com. Michael, good evening to you.
Can you hang on a minute? I'm getting my notes together.
You are more than welcome to do that. Yeah, we kind of thought it was just going to be another Monday, and then this Braden Coombs news broke early this morning, and nobody was ready for that, Mike, but it certainly seems there was a disconnect there between he and Darrell Bevell, and the speculation is that this was not an isolated incident in terms of issues with Coombs. I can't speak to exactly what happened before this, but certainly I think it's somewhat unheard of that you have a coach just go completely against a head coach's wishes, which it appears he did yesterday with that fake punt.
Yeah, I think it's okay for Jason Bourne to go rogue, but it's probably not a good for one of your assistant coaches to do it. And I don't think just listening, and it was a pretty thorough explanation that Bevell gave at that 4:00 presser or whatever time it was. I mean, he really went into more detail than I can recall any coach in any similar situation going into before. Not complete detail, but an awful lot of it. And like you said, Dan, didn't seem like a one-off. It really didn't.
No, and here's the other thing. I mean, I have not spent a lot of time with Braden Coombs. It is 2020, man. We don't have the normal relationships with these guys that we have in the past. I was face-to-face with him one time at the Senior Bowl last year. Seemed like a heck of a guy, and he did a terrific job with those special teams. Terrific job. And I think, look, he's got as bright a future in front of him as he wants to have. He's going to have to live this one down, but you also have to realize that within the hierarchy of a National Football League team, there are lines you don't cross, and that was one of them.
Yeah, insubordination in any endeavor, military, business, sports, you can't have it. And I've heard a couple of people say, friends of mine and others, why not with only 2 weeks? Why do it with 2 weeks? If you cannot stand in front of the team as a head coach and let somebody get away with something like that, because every single player knows what happened.
100%.
And they're going to look sideways at the coach and say, oh, really? He can do it, I can't?
Yeah,
and you can't have that. And I think it took a little bit of gumption on Bevell's part. He may not think of it that way. He may just think of it. It's the right thing to do. And
I think it took a lot.
Yeah, I
think it took a lot, in particular considering the situation that he's in. And he made the point that it was his decision, which he then went to Rod Wood with, and Rod Wood concurred after I assume he spoke to Sheila Fordham, and I don't know that for a fact, but I assume Coach Bevell today kind of indicated that Rod Wood took it to the people that he talks to, which I take to be Sheila Fordham. And then it was approved. And look, Darrell Bevell, if anything, I think is a fair guy. I don't see him as a vindictive person in any way. I don't see him as somebody that's going to, go out of his way to treat somebody unfairly. I think he, being a longtime veteran of the National Football League, knew that this was something that he could not just walk away from.
No, look, this is his 14th year as a coordinator in the National Football League. He was with teams for a long time, with the Vikings and with the Seahawks. He knows what's going on, and he knows the pecking order, and he knows the chain of command and all that. And based on what we've heard, and based on what Coach Bevell said, this violated the chain of command, in my opinion, based on what we heard.
Yeah, and we don't know what would have happened at the end of the year anyway, how many of these coaches are going to be retained or let go, and you got a lot of change that's coming here. But, one of the questions that you'll hear that I put to Darrell Bevell coming up is, what did you want this to say to the rest of the organization He said from the beginning, he's got 5 games. He considers it an audition. Part of that audition is setting a tone for the entire organization. And as you alluded to, other people saw what happened, knew what happened. This is where you have to say, okay, on my watch, this is how these things work.
No, I would agree with that. And you also in the back of your mind, what if it would have worked? I don't think it would have changed anything.
I don't either.
I really don't.
No.
It's sort of like, the take sign is on and you hit a home run. And you get to the dugout expecting a big handshake and you don't get it.
That said, Michael, and I should
Yes.
tell people this chat with Michael Harris brought to you by Comerica Bank. Experience full-service banking at Comerica Bank. Learn more at Comerica.com. I do believe Darrell Bevel should have challenged the spot on the fake punt. We sat in our radio. So just to explain to people kind of how it works. We called the game from Ford Field. We have the feeds that are given to us by both TV and from the NFL, which is an all 24. On the TV feed that we had, which was a backhaul, I guess you'd call, I'm not sure the technical word, from CBS, we saw them re-racking the play several times during the break. And both Lomas and I thought that CJ Moore had kind of vaulted himself, spun in the air, kept his butt off the ground, and reached the ball out and got the line to gain. At a minimum, in my mind, down 14, having to give the ball to them on your 30-yard line, to me, it was worth the risk of one timeout because I think you did have a chance there. I know those are tough to overturn, but boy, it certainly looked intriguing to me.
I think I would have done it just to do it anyway if it was that close and made a big show of it. But also in the back of Bevel's mind is, what did he just do?
Yeah.
What did my coordinator just do?
And I do wonder somewhat if that kind of knocked him off his game a little bit. He's steaming in his mind and he's thinking, what the heck is going on here? But I don't know what replays they're working with upstairs in the coaching booth where Bevel looks to have people tell him, yes, let's challenge it. No, let's not challenge it. As I said, the best looks we got were during a commercial. So I'm not really sure what even CBS showed on the TV broadcast for people to watch and what they got at that. So and I've had coaches tell me before, TV didn't give us a good look at it, so we didn't have an ability to know whether or not we should challenge, and that might be the case with this one. I'm not sure.
No, I agree with that too, but I also like Bevel's explanation of it, and he kind of walked it through, and he said he didn't say first of all, but really first of all, if he wanted to go for it, he would have gone for it. He would have thrown
with
the
his
ball.
Offense.
Yeah, with his offense, which is used to doing it. And the other part of it was, he said he was buying a little time for his quarterback who'd just taken 2 hard hits. That's why they were punting the ball.
Yeah, and the problem was you just weren't stopping anybody. I mean, the problem was 7 out of 9 possessions they had in the game, they scored. First 3 they had in the game, they scored. And it was, Michael, overall, and did I tell people this chat with Michael Harris brought to you by Comerica Bank, experience full service banking at Comerica Bank, learn more at Comerica.com. I don't remember if I did that. I know I meant to. If I did it twice, then we'll bill him again. But I think this, Mike, this was a game that we've seen so many times this year where the other team just scores, goes on runs. They score on 3 consecutive possessions, 4 out of 5, 4 in a row, 5 in a row, whatever it is. And the offense has to be perfect to give the Lions a chance to win a game. And on this day, they weren't perfect.
And this game reminded me, the start of it, a lot like the Green Bay game the week before when they had one 75-yard drive for a touchdown and one 3-play possession for a touchdown. Yeah. And I think I've said this too. This is just my opinion, but Amani Oruwariye was covering the receiver. And I'll grant you, he gave up a 12-yard completion, but the other 44 yards were
Devontae Adams last
Devontae Adams, correct, yeah. He just ran through the secondary, ran through the safeties. They didn't even touch him. Yeah. And what happened yesterday on that touchdown, the 75-yard 1-play possession? Duran Harmon's beaten on the catch. Okay, it happens. And then he fans twice on the tackle. Gets beaten 3 times on the same play.
Yeah, no, it's just
been tough back there.
The defense is just such a problem, and it's you're not telling anybody anything they don't know, and you just You can't win like that. And I don't want to go all Mike O'Hara on you, but I wrote a piece on fox2detroit.com just kind of looking at Tennessee and drawing parallels to the Lions. This is a team in Tennessee that doesn't have a good defense. They're 32nd in the league in sacks, 32nd in the league in touchdown passes allowed, 32nd in the league in third down conversions allowed on defense. But they have found a way to win 10 games. They went to the AFC Championship last year. You know what? You don't have to be great on both sides of the ball, but you have to be really good at something. And their offense, because of Derrick Henry, and I'll get to that in a second, and what he has done with their quarterback is allow him to work play action, to not be forced into making a lot of plays downfield, living a life that, quite frankly, Matthew Stafford has never enjoyed in Detroit. And I don't think you need a Hall of Fame running back, and he's playing at a Hall of Fame level right now. Don't know if he'll get there, but he's playing that way right now. But you do need a running game, and that's what they're doing. They've coupled a running game with a quarterback who was considered something of a bust when he left Miami, who is now playing a comfortable game of football and playing great, and taking an offense and utilize that together with a defense that isn't very good, and they've won 10 games.
Well, here's the other thing. It's a comparative issue here. What they're talking about down in Nashville, Tennessee with the Titans is Derrick Henry has 4 200-yard games, okay? Mm-hmm. He's been in the league, 5 years? Is that what it is?
4 or 5, yeah.
4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
You got that 4 200-yard games. Can you see my fingers up in the air here?
I see them, yes. I see the tops of them, yes.
Yeah, okay. We got 6 up there now, just to make a point. That's in 5 years, I think it is. In 12 years since Matthew Stafford came to the Detroit Lions, they've had one back have three 100-yard games.
It's insane.
3.
It's insane. It's like you as I say, you have to be able to do something well. And what's been proven is it can't be just a passing game. Because if you're one-dimensional in this league, they will stop you at some point. They will figure out a way to stop you if you are just a passing team and you can't run the ball. And they can't run the ball. And the sad thing is, the mystifying thing is, the disappointing thing is, the frustrating thing is, they have put so many assets into this team to try to run the ball. Multiple second-round draft picks. They've paid veteran free agents. They've brought in offensive linemen with big money to give to TJ Lang and to Wagner, a high draft pick on Ragnow, a high draft pick on Decker, brought in Jonah Jackson, who's been good. And I'm not taking anything away from him, but it just still hasn't added up to a running game.
No, it's never
not added up.
For whatever reason, maybe it's the coordinator, maybe I don't know what it is, but
it's been several coordinators.
I know. I think they're sort of onto something now with Swift. I think they've built at least half of three parts of the offensive line in Ragnow, Jackson, and Taylor Decker. And I think the guys on the right side are okay. I think they're good enough. I think they're okay there. I sort of see the framework of what we've been talking about for a dozen years.
Well, I do think. Is it possible this is the Barry Lane curse?
Barry Lane. I thought you were going to say Penny Lane.
No. Look, I do think for somebody coming in to take over this organization, you will look at this team and say, okay, I got a really good center. I got a really good left tackle. And my left tackle's signed. My center, I'll get signed at some point. I got a heck of a tight end. If you keep Golladay, you got a heck of a receiver, depending upon what you do. Don't know what you're going to do at quarterback. That's going to depend on what your overall plan is. But there's some pieces on offense that you can look at. I think, they've got the makings there of a unit that can work. Got to figure out how to run the ball. You got a really good player in Swift. So there's some things happening there. It's the other side of the ball where you're searching for building blocks over there. And that's the disappointing. That's tough. That's really tough. You need pretty much a complete overhaul there.
Yeah, there's not a playmaker there. There really isn't a guy who that's our guy. You stop
Yeah,
him.
I mean, look, Romeo Okwara's been good this year. He's done a nice job,
Yes.
but you need more. And I think Romeo Okwara becomes so much better when you get that alpha on the other side of the line, opposite him or in the middle of that line or something like that. You get that difference maker. And I think Trey Flowers is a really good player. I don't know that he's the top of the defense player. I don't believe he is. I believe you're still looking for your best player on defense with this team.
Yeah, and I think, Dan, the National Football League has changed on both sides of the ball too, and I think it's a speed game now. And I think Matt Patricia tried to build a defense that is outdated. I think you wanted big, tough guys who can control the line of scrimmage, and that's great. But I think if you're going to be a winning team, a winning defense, you need speed. You need guys who can beat the left tackle to the quarterback. Just beat him flat out, sprint to the quarterback. Win the 23-yard race or whatever it is from right defensive end to the pocket. The same thing in the secondary. You've got to be able to run. You've got to be able to hunt people down and knock them out. When I say knock them down, and I don't see that in the Detroit Lions. I don't see that player.
Yeah, and that makes it a little more difficult for the next group that comes in, because you would figure that they're going to change the personnel. They're not going to probably be a group that wants 255-pound linebackers across the board. And I think that's what, one of the things that makes the task a little bit more daunting. Can be done, but it just means you have less pieces in place now for what you're trying to put forward. Let me take a break. Come right back. Our chat with interim head coach Darrell Bevell on the other side on this edition of Lions Review.
back to more Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit, the king of sportsbooks. Here's Dan Miller.
Now from the Lion 24. Here comes Henry again, trying to get to the edge left side. Myers chases him, and Myers just got tossed.
Watch that stiff arm.
This is Myers' first game in the National Football League, and he's getting a heck of a how do you do. Now, he got the brunt of that stiff arm and got tossed. But the good thing is Henry didn't get much after that.
Right. He didn't get tossed like Josh Norman got tossed that one day, but you could tell he loves that stiff arm. That's a crucial weapon for Derrick Henry. Look at that.
That's a throw. Woo! Stiff arm as much as it's a throw.
That guy's something else. That was from yesterday's game. Alex Myers playing in his first game ever in the NFL, cornerback for the Lions, who had just been brought up on Saturday. Got a whale of a stiff arm from Derrick Henry. Mike, who do you compare him to? He's something else, man. He is in the midst of one of the all-time runs for a running back.
Well, I like what Tony Dungy said on that Sunday night AB or NBC telecast. He said, I think that's called roughing the tackler.
It is brutal, and it is done with bad intent. That is for sure. Let's get to our interview with head coach Darrell Bevell, brought to you by MGM Grand Detroit, the king of sportsbooks. Had a chance to talk to Bev today regarding what happened in yesterday's game, but we started with what happened this morning, which was the firing of Braden Coombs.
Yeah, it was really kind of a tough decision, to make. Obviously, to go about it that way and have to think about it all night. It was something that was kind of weighing on me. But really, the decision, came down to the situation that we had in the game. And I think it's important that that there's certain protocols and certain rules that are adhered to, and it wasn't in that game, and so had to make that tough decision.
Final question on this. You are, as the interim head coach, and I know you're taking this very seriously, and you've said this is an audition. You're setting the tone for this team. What do you want people to understand about the way that you want the Detroit Lions to be run with this?
Yeah, I think as a leader, I think it's really important to set the rules and set the guidelines and ground rules for how you want your program to be built and what your philosophy is. And I think it's really important to always protect the team, and the team is put first. And if I go with decisions that kind of go against that, then I think I'm doing myself and the team a disservice.
When you look at yesterday's game, it seemed like early on they were able to set the tone, scoring touchdowns on their first 3 possessions. They get up to a 2-score lead, and feels like you're fighting from behind there kind of from then on.
Yeah, it really was. We did make a kind of a game-changing play there. With Romeo getting the safety, and then offense gets the ball back, we take it down and score, get it back to a 1-possession game. So I think that's a positive for what we were doing. We never could get their offense under wraps. They did a great job of mixing the run and the pass. Obviously, we knew that was going to be an issue coming in the game, and really felt like first down and second down was going to be the key downs for us to be able to put them in longer yardage situations. I think we were only able to do that once, so they converted at such a high level, and really they controlled the game that way.
I was going to mention that, and you kind of touched on it there, the balance that they have. You got a guy running like a Hall of Famer right now, and you got a quarterback who's using that running game to work play action. He's a terrific athlete. He's playing very well right now. That balance makes them really difficult to handle.
Really difficult. I love how they're built. That's kind of the blueprint right there that I love. Physical, dominating run game, and then when you put the ball in front of a Derrick Henry and you pull it out, and you displace the whole defense because they have to come and respect the run. And then you're going to find those openings behind, and a lot of times those lead to really big plays.
And if you look at the numbers, I know probably one thing that will stick out was defensively on third down. You had a real tough time getting off the field. But again, it goes back to something that we talked about last week. They were kind of winning on first and second down. And even when you're preventing Henry from getting big chunks, if he's getting 5, 6, 7, boy, that sets them up real well on second and third down.
Yeah, Dan, you hit it. That's the key. You look immediately at the third down stat, and it doesn't tell the whole story. The story is, what are those distances? I think one time, I said it was, a 3rd and 11, but for the most part, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, which, it's really hard to put pressure on an offense that way. And, they were just dictating the game.
difficulty on when you had the football. If you look at those first three possessions, you had the touchdown drive early, which was terrific. You had a punt in plus territory, and then you had the fumble. That makes it difficult when you have those possessions, you come up empty, and they're kind of jumping out and putting that up on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I mean, we felt we really needed to match them point for point. We have the capability to do that. I thought we did play, did do a lot of good things on offense, but you're never going to win a game when you turn the football over. We turned it over on the 1 yard line. We turned it over the second time on I think it was a plus 21 yard line. With those are point opportunities that you have in your hands, and to give them the ball back, you're making it tough on yourself.
All right, there he is, Lions interim head coach Darrell Bevell, talking about yesterday's loss to the Titans, looking ahead to the Bucs coming up this week, and that means Tom Brady. And one thing, I just kind of started digging into Tampa Bay a little bit, Michael. Their defense is really good. I mean, they're number one in the league against the run. They're in the top 3 or 4 in sacks. They're really good. And Devin White has turned into a terrific player.
Yeah, that's a guy I really liked in that draft, but he was gone before the Lions got a chance to make their pick. He had 3 sacks on Sunday's game and 4 tackles for loss. Really, really a good ball player. Just a little bigger version of Devin Bush of Michigan, who's also a good player, out for the season with an injury. But it was a coin flip between those two at that position, I think, Dan. But I think Devin White, a little better player with a little more size.
Yeah, and that's going to be a tough go for the Lions on Sunday. And this is a Tampa Bay team that will feel good because they're coming off a huge come-from-behind win over Atlanta, and one that they had to have because they are really battling in the NFC for a playoff spot. I guess technically still have an outside shot, a game back with 2 to play in the division. But they're looking at wild card right now, and they've got to keep winning. All right, let's take a break. We'll come right back. Our chat with Matthew Stafford on the other side. So stick around for that. A little bit more with Michael O'Hara when we come back as well. We're glad you're with us on this edition of Lions Review.
to more Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit, the king of sportsbooks. Here's Dan Miller.
Matthew leans in. He's got it. Back, looking left, comes middle, throws. It is caught. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Marvin Jones in the back of the end zone. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Stafford threw that through some traffic, too.
Man, that was a howitzer, man. He pulled out the gun then, and he got that ball through there. But again, Dan, just think about the protection that he's getting up front. Matthew was able to let this route come all the way across. So nice job by the guys up front to give him that protection. Nice job by Marvin Jones. Touchdown.
For all the questions about Stafford this week, clean on that first drive and looked awful good.
Yeah, he wow, what a throw. And astute observers have pointed out that was a no-look throw. He's looking to his right and throwing back across his body. I mean, it's just insane. Just insane.
You know, I think later in that game, later in that half anyway, a couple of the guys were tweeting out that Matthew was throwing short. Maybe he just didn't have the strength to throw deep. And then all of a sudden, the 44-yard shot to the tight end, one of the guys came back and said, "Oh, I guess I'm wrong," or something like that.
Yeah, that one to Henry, and he had one to Marvin, too.
Yep, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
He had a couple downfield that
he looked good to me.
He could cut loose. Yeah, I'm sure he was in a lot of pain. I don't think he was feeling real good going out there to play. And after the hit he took in the game, I don't think he was feeling very well at all. But that's what he does. He goes out, and when he has a chance to play, he plays, and that's what he said after the game. And, it just – man, the story on this season, Mike, it will be, a defense that couldn't stop anybody and an offense that, while they can't be expected to score at the pace that the opposition is scoring against the Lions defense, I think everybody on that offense would tell you that there was more out there than they've gotten this year. They've left a lot on the table, and they've not found that high level that I think they're capable of. I don't think they've found the highest level that they're capable of. Is probably a better way of putting it.
No, I would agree with that, Dan. I don't think it's a unit that needs to be taken apart and reassembled or anything like that. I really do think there's some fine tuning there. Maybe add a versatile speed receiver, not just a speed guy, but somebody who can make plays. Can run routes and make plays, and maybe another running back too. But I don't think by any means it's a makeover on offense. And look, I like the depth at the offensive line too. I think you've got 7 or 8 guys who you can legitimately line up with. Now I like the top 3: left guard, left tackle, and center. But the other side too, and the backups. I think there's some really quality depth in there that you can use, guys.
Yeah, and I think Stenberg is a guy they like. He's not ready. But I think he's a guy that they believe down the line might be. We'll have to wait and see. Sometimes guys never get ready. You think they have a lot of potential, but they just don't ever kind of realize that potential. So he's got some work in front of him. But, I agree. I think, we talked about the 2 studs they have in there at center and at left tackle. And I think Jonah Jackson has done a nice job for him. Some questions, I think, on the other side, what they're going to do and who ultimately is the right tackle. Is it Crosby? I think Vaitai was the guy they had in mind. That really hasn't come to fruition. And then just a question at right guard. Joe Dahl is a guy that has kind of seemingly fallen out of favor a little bit. He really wasn't playing for a lot of the time that he was available.
Well, I think we're missing a guy there too, Matt Nelson. There's just something about him.
Yeah.
He seems to be a football player who just has a feel for playing football now. He's at right tackle, and I think he's played okay there.
Yeah, no, I think he's played, done a very nice job considering where he is in the arc of his career, and has, I think, a very bright future in front of him to see where that thing goes and can be part of the equation for them going forward. But I think there's some decisions to make there. I mean, you're kind of locked in, I would assume. I haven't looked at the numbers on Vaitai, but they have to be just huge for what they paid him. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, but that's part of it. And Mike, that's part of a new group coming in here, is how they see this thing. And do they see rebuilding totally or going with part of what you got? You got 3 receivers in there that don't have contracts for next year. Galladay, Marvin Jones. Marvin's been terrific. He's been absolutely terrific. We've talked about him before. I know he's one of yours, and he's one of my favorite players. I just love. He is the epitome of what a football player should be, a gamer who fights and gives you everything he's got, absorbs hits, gives hits, just plays at maximum speed every week.
And absolutely, and when he has something to say, people listen. It's worth listening to. He's really been good. He's got 40 catches, Dan, in the last was it 40 catches in the last 5 games? Maybe it's 6, but really that's on pace for a 100-yard
100
season.
reception season.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, 100-catch season. And he has really played that well. He had 12 targets yesterday, 10 catches. That's hard to do. It's hard to get that many targets and that many catches and really produce the way he did. To me, that's when you call a guy a ball player, it's a real compliment. That is a ball player.
Well, and also when you have a guy who knows that he is covering ground for a guy like Kenny Golladay, he knows he's got to step up. And, it's not easy to fill the shoes of a guy that does what Kenny Golladay does, but you've gotten really all that Marvin Jones has to give, that's for sure. But it just goes to that bigger picture of wide receiver. Major, major decisions to make for the next group that's coming in there. And we'll have to wait and see. I'm still intrigued by Hunter Bryant. I
am too.
I think there's something there. He's one of those kind of, we were talking about it in the booth yesterday, kind of one of those hybrid wide receiver tight ends. I don't know if it was you that brought that up or Lowe or whoever, but he's there's something there. He's got to A, stay available, and B, make it happen.
Well, one thing about you, I really like the draft, and I put a lot of time. I'm not a scout, don't get me wrong. My information comes out of books and all that, but there's like 7 or 8 guys that I really look at, and without fail, every one of them had that tight end pegged as right around a 4th round draft pick.
Yeah.
I mean, just solid. It wasn't like one guy had him at 2 and somebody at 7 and all that. He didn't get drafted, and I think that position got drafted out right about that time. And the Lions jumped on him. They really did. They went on hard on him as fast as they could to get him signed. And I think what he is a receiving tight end. I don't think he's a blocker. And I think he's a guy who can get downfield and can play the intermediate routes too. But there's something there in him. There really is.
Agree. And I hope he comes back training camp next year, healthy, ready to roll, and we can see what he can do when he is, able to go through camp, hit the ground running in the regular season, and be a part of this offense going forward, because I think he's got the potential to be somebody that can really contribute. Let's get to Matthew Stafford now. This interview brought to you by Henry Ford Health System, the official healthcare provider of the Detroit Lions. Talked about a number of things. First was the news of the day, which was the firing of Braden Coombs.
I think anytime, a coach is fired in the middle of the season, it's a little bit surprising as a player, but I trust the people that are making decisions at our facility on our team to make the right ones. So if they felt like that was the right move, then I trust those guys.
When something like this happens, people obviously start talking. There's a lot of speculation. I know you're kind of living in your own world. Had you noticed any issues going on maybe yesterday where this apparently caught the head coach by surprise?
Yeah, I mean, I'm aware of some of that stuff. I'm in the middle of a game focusing on what I can control. I am aware of, some of the other stuff that's going on and what happened, but, I try to stay in my lane as much as I possibly can and let the coaches and the higher ups, do as they see fit.
Let me get to what happened with you in building up to the week. You finally got to the point where you could play. In listening to you, you played for your teammates. You played because of the guys that worked hard to get your body in shape to play. Just kind of take me through that mental and physical journey that got you to Sunday.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling good early in the week and spent a bunch of time in the training room with those guys. They did an outstanding job of, piecing me back together, getting me feeling to where I was, good enough to go out there and play on Sunday. I just wanted to be out there. I know a lot of guys on our team are battling through stuff. So if I had the opportunity and felt good enough to play and felt like I could play at a high level, I wanted to make sure I was out there for those guys and was able to do it.
I think one of the frustrations of yesterday's game was you were moving the ball well early. They're scoring the first 3 times they have it. You match them on your first drive. Next 2 drives, you end up with a punt and plus territory and then a fumble inside the 1-yard line. It gets tough at that point to play from behind.
Yeah, no question. We kind of shot ourselves in the foot there a couple times on some drives, had the ball deep into their territory and came away with no points. Against a team like that's going to put up points, you got to be able to match them stride for stride, and we weren't able to do that early. That being said, our defense did a great job in the second half, especially early on there in the third quarter, giving us chances to get back into it, and got it to within 1 score, and just weren't able to move it forward from there.
And the defense picked you up as well in the first half after the fumble deep in their territory. To pick up the safety, you get the ball back, you got a short field. I thought, number one, look, you had an offensive line that knew you needed to be protected yesterday. I thought the throw to Marvin was one of the best examples of that. Looked like you pump faked to Marvin, thought about checking down to TJ, and then said, oh, heck, I'm going to go to Marvin anyway, and threw it down the field. That takes time to do that.
Yeah, our guys up front play great, to be honest with you. And then, Matt Nelson had to hop in there again and play off the sideline as well. So I was really proud of those guys. Obviously thankful for them. They kept me clean the majority of the day. And we got a bunch of different looks from Tennessee. They're trying to change the picture on us, but those guys up front really battled and played well.
Second half, you mentioned it. You guys start. You do get back into the game. But I think, Matthew, it goes back to what we've talked about a lot this year, and it's finding that consistency on offense, finding that ability to maximize drives, because I think the one thing we've seen is a lot of the teams that are where you want to be, they don't have too many empty possessions in this league, and that gets tough when you're fighting against that.
Yeah, we knew we were going to need to go out there and play a really a quality game on offense, and we moved the ball like you said, but you turn the ball over in the red zone and don't come away with points on those crucial drives in the second half. It's gonna wind up biting you, and it did on Sunday.
Short week to get ready for the Bucs. Number one, any concern with your condition about getting ready for that one? Number two, just some thoughts on them. This is a terrific defense coming in, number one in the league against the run.
Yeah, obviously a really talented defense. Great front seven, backers, defensive line, all really talented players and physical players. So we'll have our work cut out for us there. And as far as me playing, we'll see. Take it kind of day to day. I'm feeling decent, but we'll see.
All right, there is Matthew Stafford as they get ready for Tampa Bay. That'll be Saturday right here on Lions Radio. Don't forget, 1 o'clock kick on Saturday. Braden Coombs just tweeted, nothing major here, but just tweeted of Jack Fox making the Pro Bowl. I'm so freaking happy for my guy. Only 2 of these in the whole world, meaning 2 punters that make the Pro Bowl. Hashtag hard work pays. Hashtag let's put on a show. There is no denying, regardless of what happened yesterday or anything, that Braden Coombs did a really nice job with the special teams for the Lions. And part of that was a terrific coverage unit with their punter, who did a nice job all year long in Jack Fox. Good story.
No, I'd agree with that 100%.
Michael, hang on. We're going to take a break. Come right back. Much more coming up on this edition. We'll have the call of the game, sponsored by Ring Central, right after this here on Lions Review.
to more Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit, the king of sportsbooks. Here's Dan Miller.
Fox is ready. There's the snap, and they fake it. Around the right side, they are very close to a first down. It will depend upon the spot. They did not get a good spot. They snapped the fake that time to the Lions. That spot did not look like a good one to C.J. Moore.
First down, Tennessee.
I would love to see a replay of that. They marked him shy of the 35, which is what he needed. C.J. Moore trying to get it.
But that was a bad spot, Dan.
I want to see another replay of the spot to see whether or not that's something that the Lions can challenge. It is a challengeable thing if they didn't like the spot.
All right, there it is. Call of the game, sponsored by Ring Central, official partner of the Detroit Lions. Ring Central, message, video, phone together. Mike, we talked about that already. We got about a minute left. Let me just get your thoughts. Kevin Green died today.
Yeah, just saw that.
58 years old. Hall of Famer, hell of a player. Good dude. Got to spend some time with him in a previous radio life working for the NFL Players Association.
I might have interviewed him once at one of those Super Bowl things, but I didn't really know. But what a player. He played for multiple teams, and he was good everywhere he went, and a good guy. Loved football.
Yeah, I hated to see that. Really interesting kind of a character, and the kind of character that you like in the NFL because he loved the game. He tried to do what was right for the game. He played hard, played on some good teams, and is in the Hall of Fame because he was, as we say, one heck of a player. Michael, we got a game coming up on Saturday. It'll be interesting. We'll see you out at Ford Field when Tom Brady comes back to Michigan. It will be fun. Fun?
Right.
You good with that?
I'm always good with that, Dan. Love hearing your voice out there.
Thank you, Michael. You too. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thanks for making us a part of your evening. That is it for this edition of Lions Review. We'll see you next Sunday when we go back over that Bucs game. See you Sunday on Lions Radio. Saturday.